Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be really digging into Comcast's Q3 2024 earnings call. We've got their transcript here and some market snapshots to help us, kind of break down what's going on. And honestly, the mood isn't exactly, celebratory. Mm-hmm. There's this underlying tension between like celebrating the big wins, like the Terrace Olympics were huge, and then also kind of facing some of the harder realities that are hitting their core businesses.
Yeah, it is a fascinating contrast. You see Comcast trying to project confidence in their convergence strategy, this whole idea of bundling internet and mobile services, and they're boasting about this wider reach than even the top telecom giants combined. But then their broadband subscriber numbers are actually down this quarter.
Yeah, and it's, they're kind of downplaying the subscriber loss a little bit. They're attributing it to things like the Affordable Connectivity Program ending and, hurricane disruptions. But even with the Olympics boost, that growth that they were hoping for just wasn't there.
Right. And that makes you wonder, is this finally the moment where the competition, the fixed wireless, the fiber, is it finally starting to really make a dent?
It really makes you wonder. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are betting big on those multi-gigabit speeds to kind of stay ahead. But this could be a sign that dominance that they've enjoyed for so long is starting to erode. It raises some concerns about their long-term strategy, especially when you think about the massive spending they're doing on other ventures.
Right, exactly. Speaking of big spending, let's talk about Epic Universe for a minute. They're pouring like a staggering $150 million into pre-opening costs for this Orlando theme park, and that's just in the next 2 quarters alone. And at the same time, their existing parks are seeing revenue and attendance decline this quarter.
It's a risky gamble for sure. I mean, they're claiming that this decline is just due to, demand being pulled forward from previous record years, but that kind of feels a little bit like a thin explanation. It really raises questions about their projections for Epic Universe, whether they've really accurately assessed the long-term appeal of this, especially given kind of the current economic climate and how consumer spending habits are shifting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on top of all of that, we have this unexpected twist. There are hints of a potential spinoff of their cable networks. So think USA, Bravo, that kind of thing. And while the details are scarce, it's a move that definitely makes you kind of raise your eyebrows and go, what's going on here?
Yeah, right. And this potential spinoff taken together with them exploring these streaming partnerships suggests that they're feeling the heat from this streaming revolution a lot more than they're letting on. And, remember, they even name-dropped Paramount as a potential partner. So it seems like they're really testing the waters here, trying to figure out how to stay afloat in a world where, cable is looking more and more like yesterday's news.
Right, yeah. So we've got these broadband growth concerns. We've got this massive theme park investment with, kind of questionable returns at this point. And now we have this potential dismantling of their cable network portfolio. It really paints a picture of a company that's at a crossroads, that's really grappling with its identity in this rapidly changing media landscape.
Absolutely. And this kind of leads us to another key point, which is the Olympics. I mean, while they were, a resounding success, brought in a record $1.9 billion in revenue, it really begs the question of whether this is a one-time win or is this a sustainable model for their future?
Yeah, they're really touting the success of Peacock streaming and how that's, synergizing with their Xfinity platform. But can they replicate this with other major events? They've invested very heavily in NBA rights, banking on, its popularity. But that's a bet. It remains to be seen how that's going to play out.
Yeah, and another thing that's kind of interesting here is how the market's reacting to all of this. Comcast stock actually jumped over 3% today, closed at $43.67.
That's interesting. Because it kind of seems to contradict the somber tone of the earnings call, right?
It does, yeah.
Are investors just kind of fixated on those Olympics wins and overlooking the potential risks that we've been, laying out here?
I mean, it's possible. It could be that Wall Street's looking beyond the immediate numbers and focusing on that potential for future growth. They might be interpreting this potential spinoff and these streaming partnerships as signs that Comcast is willing to make those bold moves, those strategic moves to adapt to this evolving market.
So they're betting on Comcast's ability to kind of reinvent itself rather than clinging to that cable legacy.
Maybe, yeah. But can they really pull off that kind of dramatic transformation? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a big question.
It is, yeah. And remember, while the broadband subscriber growth was weaker than expected, their ARPU, their average revenue per user, is still showing pretty healthy growth. So that means they're extracting more revenue from that existing customer base.
Okay, so that's a good sign in the short term, but it's not a sustainable strategy in the long run, right? Especially if they can't really stem the tide of cord cutting. So
Yeah.
how are they planning to address that fundamental challenge?
Well, they're trying to kind of bridge that gap with these innovations, like their new Wi-Fi boost feature for Xfinity mobile customers, so that automatically boosts their speeds up to a gigabit when they're on Comcast's Wi-Fi network.
Okay, so it's a clever tactic to kind of leverage that existing infrastructure that they have and add value to their mobile offering.
Right.
Further blurring the lines between their internet and their mobile services.
Yeah.
So it's like they're doubling down on this convergence strategy, creating this walled garden where customers get everything from Comcast.
Exactly, yeah. And if they can execute this strategy effectively, it could be a really powerful way to lock in customers and maintain that dominance that they've enjoyed. But it does come with risks.
Such as?
Well, I mean, this level of market dominance makes them a prime target for regulatory scrutiny and, antitrust concerns. They're already facing criticism over their pricing practices, their market power.
Right.
And this convergence strategy could amplify those concerns,
So they're kind of walking a tightrope. They need to be aggressive to compete in this evolving media landscape, but they also have to be mindful of the potential regulatory backlash. It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, definitely. And let's not forget about just the sheer scale of their investments. We're talking billions of dollars poured into the Olympics, the NBA, Epic Universe, network upgrades, and this aggressive spending spree is necessary to stay ahead of the curve, but it also makes them pretty vulnerable if any of these bets go sour.
Right. It's a high risk, high reward strategy for sure. I mean, they could come out of this transformation even stronger than they were before.
Yeah.
A real force in the media and telecommunications landscape, or they could find themselves struggling to keep up with the pace of change.
Exactly. And this is what makes Comcast such a fascinating case study. You have this legacy giant grappling with its identity in this digital world, trying to find that right balance between clinging to its past and embracing the future. And the decisions that they make in these coming months and years are really going to have profound implications, not just for their own future, but for the entire media landscape, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about declining broadband subscribers, these ambitious theme park ventures, and this shadow of streaming that's looming over their legacy cable business. But there's one piece of the puzzle that we haven't really explored yet. And that's, what are the implications of all of this for Comcast's identity and their long-term vision? So we've looked at the numbers and we've, kind of dissected their strategies and even speculated about some potential shakeups. But now let's kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What does all of this tell us about Comcast's identity in this rapidly shifting media landscape? I mean, are they clinging to the past, or are they truly embracing the future?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question, right? I mean, you have this legacy giant that was built on cable dominance, and now they're trying to navigate a world where streaming is king, and they're facing this fierce competition on multiple fronts, and they're trying to adapt without completely losing their footing.
They're almost trying to be two companies at once, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, they're clinging to those core businesses, investing heavily in broadband infrastructure and pushing this convergence strategy. But then on the other hand, they're kind of cautiously dipping their toes into the streaming waters, exploring those partnerships and maybe even shedding assets that don't really fit with their vision for the future.
Right. And it's this internal struggle between the old Comcast and the new Comcast that's ultimately going to determine their fate, I think. Can they really shed the weight of their legacy and become this truly agile player in the digital entertainment arena, or are they going to get, bogged down by their past?
It's a tough call. They definitely have the resources and the reach to make a big impact in streaming.
Oh, yeah.
But they also have a lot to lose if they abandon those cable routes too quickly.
Yeah, it's a real high stakes balancing act.
For sure. And we can't ignore the the cultural aspect of this transformation either. I mean, Comcast has a reputation, fair or not, of being this behemoth that kind of prioritizes profits over customer satisfaction. They've had their share of PR struggles over the years, and those past missteps could come back to haunt them as they try to, win over this new generation of cord cutters.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, today's consumers are more demanding and less loyal than ever before. And to really succeed in the streaming world, Comcast needs to show that they get it. They need to show that they understand what those needs and expectations are.
Right. They got to prove they're more than just this faceless corporation.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about more than just, flashy content or technological innovation. They need to build trust, show that they're a company that actually cares about its customers. And honestly, that's a tall order, especially in the streaming world where, brand loyalty is fleeting and competition is it's cutthroat.
So where does this leave us then? I mean, it's clear that they're at a crossroads. The decisions they make in the next, couple of years are going to have a huge impact on their trajectory. Take the potential spin-off of their cable networks, for example. Is that a sign that they're finally ready to fully embrace the streaming revolution?
It's a bold move for sure, but it could also just be a tactical maneuver to, kind of appease investors, free up resources for other ventures. I mean, we'll have to, wait and see how it plays out. But regardless of their motivation, it shows that they're not standing still. They're willing to experiment, take risks, adapt to those changing tides.
That's what makes it such a compelling story to follow. We've got this legacy giant grappling with its identity, trying to find its place in this world that's just evolving at this crazy pace. It's a high stakes game with no guaranteed winners.
Yeah, and will they succeed at reinventing themselves, or will they become just another casualty of the streaming revolution? It's impossible to say for sure, but one thing is for sure. It's going to be a wild ride to watch.
It is, absolutely. And that wraps up our deep dive into Comcast's Q3 2024 earnings call. Hopefully you found this analysis insightful, and we'll be back next time to unpack another compelling story from the world of business and finance.